Good morning and good Friday, everyone.
Good morning.
And
okay. Good morning, everybody.
Happy to see you all on the call. Jaya, if you don't mind, will you do the honors?
Well, thank you, Luca. It's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, as usual, there's a lot going on. A lot goes on in a week in crypto. So there's a lot to talk about today, and I'll try to cover as much as I can in the time we have. Let me just make sure that we're all we're all live on all the different platforms, which we are. Okay, so again, if you have anything that you would like me to go through during, before we get to the questions, please post it in the chat, and I'll make sure that I'll read it before I finish. Or otherwise, just prepare your questions now for later, and we'll go through it later. Okay, let's start with sharing the screen. Okay, that's not what we needed. Okay, so just very quickly, there has been, as you can see, we have been in an uptrend for the past couple of weeks or so, and recently there have been, as you can see on with this candle here on Wednesday, there's been quite a good growth following the US announcement of inflation announcement, which was better than expected. So let's go and start having a look at that first. And as you can see, generally speaking, you can look at it in all the prices, all the different cryptocurrencies. You can see we have a green, what is called kind of like a green wave, kind of like everything has gone up quite significantly in the past few days, and this is in big part due to what is the announcement of the CPI, but also as you can see, Ethereum has moved quite a lot, and this is due to the expectations of the merge and finally for the transition to proof of stake consensus from a proof of work. It seems to be just about to happen next month. So going back to the calendar, as you can see, on Wednesday there was kind of like this big announcement of the CPI in the US, and always, just to make it real, this is just an economic calendar. You can find them all over the internet, but you can see the previous announcement, or the previous time that particular index was calculated, then the forecast. This forecast here, in this case, with 0.5%. This is kind of the month-on-month data. Okay, so this announcement is what is priced into the markets. So this is what the markets are expecting, and the price before the announcement reflects this level. Now, when there is an announcement that is better than what has been already priced in, then there's a positive reaction in the market. If the announcement had been kind of like negative, then there would have been kind of like bigger than the 0.5% that was expected, then there would have been a negative reaction in the market. Okay, so this is the way that the market reacts, not so much to the announcement itself, but by how much it differs from market expectations. Okay, because this is what especially the derivatives markets, this is what they are designed to do, is to give certainty where there is uncertainty, and especially in the commodities markets, where if you can think about farmers that may not sell their product until it is ready, until the harvest has been taken in and everything. They want to know that the price that they're going to receive for their goods covers all the costs that they need to pay beforehand, you know, before they can receive payment for what they have produced. So the derivative markets normally allow in this case the farmers to fix the price of what they are going to receive when they deliver their goods, so that they can, you know, give them certainty and they can run their business knowing exactly what they're going to receive as selling point. So in every different markets, there are you know, there are prices for everything in the financial markets, and you know, inflation is one of those things as well that is priced, and it is, you know, it is traded on the traditional on the exchanges through interest rate swaps. Now, the inflation is expected to go down to, we talked about this before, I think it is expected to go down back to below 3%, you know, in 12 months from now. And this is the price, again, that is priced into the market, you know, for a lot of different things. So the 1 month announcement is not so much that it affects, you know, immediately, because it creates a bit of a surprise in a way, but also affects all the future prices, because if it is, you know, if the assumptions today are were wrong, then we need to review all the future assumptions as well. So, you know, a lower reading, you know, makes everybody think that the economy will recover sooner than it was expected. And so obviously all the risk assets get an uptick in price, you know, and crypto is one of those, obviously. As we know, both the share market and the crypto market has been, you know, has gone down significantly in 2022. So, you know, something like this creates, you know, an interest the other way. So people may think that some capital might come back into the markets, into risky assets. Okay, and so this is why it's good to keep an eye on this kind of like macroeconomic events, because then you realize what the kind of events that can move the markets. Those are generally, in this particular one that I use, is called Forex Factory, is generally concentrate on the red ones, you know, because they're the ones that are where traders pay more attention to, let's put it that way. Okay, so so today, for example, you know, we had the the GDP announcement in the UK. As you can see, you know, we are technically now in a recession, because, you know, the GDP was negative, the reading for this quarter, but at the same time, you know, this is seen as good news instead of bad news, because it wasn't as bad as people expected. So the expectation was, you know, a minus 1.2%, and instead it's only minus 0.6%. Okay, so this is a little bit of the warped way, the way that the market works, but so that you understand why you might hear some negative news, like you might read, oh, the UK has, you know, has entered into a recession, but the actual price, you know, the level that was priced in was higher than what was announced. Okay, so so this is just to make you realize. So whenever you hear a, you know, major announcement, do go and check some of these calendars, so to realize, okay, why is the market reacted in a certain way? Okay, and as you can see here, the actual results, you know, they are red when they're worse than expected, and green when they're better than expected. Okay, so, you know, for this week, pretty much, you know, most of the announcements have been you know, been published. The only one that's left is the consumer sentiment in the US. As you can see, the expectation is that consumer sentiment is getting better, so expecting a better reading. Again, we'll see what will be announced today at 3 p.m. And this can have an effect as well on the market, although not as much as the you know, the CPI reading on Wednesday that was kind of like hotly you know, anticipated. Okay, now let's go into some crypto news, and there have been quite a few. So obviously this one that we just talked about was like a macroeconomic event, because obviously crypto is an asset and it reacts to whatever is going on in the world, whether it's crypto related or not. You know, when there are economic announcement that affects everything. An interesting announcement was this, and you know, you must probably know that BlackRock is the largest you know, fund manager, you know, managing trillions of dollars in you know, in assets. And now said it will offer clients spot. This is kind of like, please pay attention to this as well, okay? Because there's a big difference between spot and futures exposure. So this is spot Bitcoin exposure. It means that it will allow you know, some of these institutional customers to buy Bitcoin. So to do that, they will need to go into the market and buy these Bitcoins for the customers. So this is significant, could be significant for Bitcoin price going forward, because as you know, Bitcoin is limited in supply. So anything that talks about increased demand, you know, generally has an upward pressure on price. And this was seen as well as the value of Coinbase, you know, stock after the announcement actually grew sharply, because obviously it's good news for Coinbase as well, because the traffic from those purchases will go through Coinbase rather than, you know, another exchange like you know, Binance, Kraken, Gemini, or so on. Okay, so this is Bitcoin news. Obviously, there's a lot of news about the Ethereum merge, and now core developers, you know, have tentatively selected September the 15th for the actual merge, because it will happen actually in two parts. One is on September the 6th, and the final one on September the 15th. Or at least, you know, these kind of debates have a tendency to being pushed forward all the time, because things happen, and you know, we've been waiting for this for the past 5 or 6 years. So don't be surprised if it gets pushed a little bit further. But now it seems that, you know, all the things have been done. It's you know, they also been tried on the test net. So we should be close to that date. Whether it's September or October, it doesn't matter that much. But definitely it has been picked up by the markets. Okay, this is a Bitcoin chart. Okay, if we go and look at, actually, I'll tell you what, we can compare it here to Ethereum. So you can see that the growth in Ethereum, you know, in recent growth has been much faster than Bitcoin. If we measure the two movements, you know, we have got a maximum of, you know, where we are now is about 26% from mid-July, and instead for Ethereum, we are talking about 80%, 81%, maybe 82. Okay, so and this is mainly through you know, the expectations for the merge. Okay, so it shows you what a difference it can make. You know, a bit of kind of like positive news, positive market expectations. So you know, Ethereum, obviously, you know, if you go back in time, obviously it's come down a long way from, you know, from where it was in November, even more from, you know, no, actually November was the was the high in this case. So from up here when it was about you know, close to $5,000, you know, it still lost more than 60%, but it's important, because if you can pick these coins on knowing what's coming around the corner, you know, it can be very significant. You know, if you have new money to invest, as you can see now, in a couple of weeks, you could have, you know, in less than a month, you could have made about 80% on your Ethereum. Okay, so let me close pages as we go along. Another thing that affects, talking about Polygon now, but obviously affects the Ethereum ecosystem as well. This is interesting because they've been reported there are 37,000 decentralized applications run on Polygon, which is 4 times the numbers that they had at the beginning of the year. So this is, I just wanted to show you this, not for Polygon in particular, but to show you the kind of activity that goes on the blockchain, whether the market goes up or down. This is the kind of activity. So in 8 months, they have multiplied the number of applications by 4 on the blockchain. Obviously, what does that mean for you or me? It just means that obviously there will be more transactions going through Polygon, more fees being generated, so more participation. Obviously, more people that will interact with their blockchain, and Polygon, as many other blockchains, have taken advantage from the slowness of Ethereum to go to the proof of stake, because they could take advantage of the fact that they were a lot cheaper than Ethereum in terms of transaction costs. Okay, and where it was, last year at some stages you could have spent hundreds of dollars to put transaction through the Ethereum network, and Polygon was only a few dollars in comparison. So that's gone. On a different news. Sorry, what am I looking at? I got this open. Oh, this was a Mark Cuban. Okay. Now a few things about. Sorry, carry on about Ethereum for a second. There's a proposal that is going through for allowing transactions of NFTs to have more privacy on Ethereum, and there's a proposal to implement stealth addresses for the ERC 721, which is the token standard for NFTs on Ethereum, so that it would provide more a significant amount of privacy to the NFT ecosystem without being very complicated to implement. So this might actually take place in the near future as well, because there are many things that the blockchain is good for. Sometimes certain things you don't really want everybody to see. So this is something that might come to be using zero knowledge SNARK technology. So creating a sort of like an anonymity set for an ERC 721. I mean, it doesn't really affect. It shouldn't be affecting this as the same as anonymity for cryptocurrencies, because obviously NFTs are unique in their issuance. So there's only one NFT or one type. So it's it shouldn't have the problems about what do you call it, enabling transactions that are not welcome, or where you would like the authorities to have more overlook on. But it is interesting to actually protect our environment, because really I know many people say that if you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't worry about these things, but nobody said that everything that we do should be absolutely public. So a measure of anonymity is welcomed. Okay, now talk about a few things about Celsius. Okay, now obviously we know the Celsius is went down hard, is filed for bankruptcy protection, which is good and bad at the same time. Okay, good in the sense that with bankruptcy protection, the company funds are protected from lawsuits and things like this. And in the meantime, obviously Celsius still has a lot of funds under management. And these funds keep generating revenues. Like, for example, they got a lot of Ethereum that's staked It's growing at about 5% per year. But the bad thing is that one is that it's a long process, so we don't know when and if Celsius will come out of bankruptcy and when people will be able to access some or all of their funds. And the other bad thing is that, you know, by filing bankruptcy as they have, it just basically confirmed that the people's deposits on Celsius are being are being treated as companies' assets. Okay, so they're not kind of like funds under management like they would be with a broker, but they're being treated as company assets. Like the people that deposited money in Celsius or cryptocurrencies in Celsius are basically giving up their rights to those coins. Okay, so how, you know, what this will mean once we come out of bankruptcy remains to be seen, and how many, you know, how much people will get back of their funds, you know, that remains to be seen. But it's there's a lot of things going on, and at the moment there is an investigation going through on the founder of Celsius, Alex Mashinsky, about some transactions that went on before they filed for bankruptcy. So you might have heard that this week there was a proposal to re-employ this guy to help going through the bankruptcy, but the community actually rebelled against it completely. So the proposal was shelved because, you know, this is the guy that took the company to, you know, was at the helm of this process, and they were, you know, kind of proposing to pay him a lot of money to come and work back and sort out the mess they made. So yeah, it wasn't received very well by the community, and now the proposal has been shelved, as you can imagine. Okay, so although these things are happening at the same time, the Celsius token has actually rallied. As you can see, it's gone up significantly, and the reason for that is, you know, there are different reasons that we could cite for this. One of them is that, you know, now there are no more Celsius tokens coming onto the market, because obviously they're not, although they, you know, they say that the people's accounts are still accumulating rewards, obviously nobody is able to draw anything out of the Celsius account. So there is a belief that this has led to a kind of like supply squeeze, because there is still demand. Obviously, these funds will have a value at the end of the bankruptcy proceeding, and some people are trying to get it on the cheap, basically. But the other thing as well, there were a couple of more positive announcements that Celsius has repaid part of the loans that they had with you know, MakerDAO, so that they can get access to some of the collateral they had deposited in support of these you know, of these loans. So it is basically they are slowly unraveling these loans and coming out and getting access back to their collateral. So keep your eyes open. You know, there might be, you know, there are talks of starting proceedings about some of the things that went on before bankruptcy, and there are talks about insider tradings, you know, before they called in the administrators. So these are the kind of news that could have sparked the increase in value of tokens. Okay, so they repaid 142 million to make a DAO, and a smaller loan as well. So you know, it definitely, this is definitely a bit of good news, because obviously the collateral is worth you know, a lot more than this loan. Generally collateral is you know, loans are collateralized at double the amount of money that you take out as a loan. Okay, so if they repaid 152 million, I mean they would have access generally to double that amount in crypto. Okay. So some good and some bad news about Celsius. Let me just close this. And some good news. Some interesting bits of news. We've spoken often about using the blockchain to run elections. So it's the Kenya that just ran the elections very recently. I've used a voting system that is very close to the one of the Bitcoin blockchain, and as you can see later, people had to go in with a and give the biometric identity to be able to vote, and then could vote. So there would be a record, an electronic record, and a physical record for the vote. So kind of like it's increased security that things couldn't be changed later on. There couldn't be any electoral fraud. That has been a huge problem in emerging countries' elections. Okay, so and this is something that often the Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson talks about. And although this wasn't done using Cardano technology, but it is interesting that now we are seeing examples of this, which is still a new emerging technology, being used for major for major events in our life. Obviously, not in yours and mine, but in the Kenyan people that were involved in the election, this could be very, very significant. So let me close this again. Now, this is something that as well is concerning, but it comes to the core of what is a stable coin that is not backed by physical dollars. Now, the DAI, which is one of the oldest stable coins, and it's an algorithmic stable coin, but is also backed for about 32% by USDC. So this is the founder, the co-founder is talking about plans to sell part of this USDC and buy Ethereum instead. So this could lead to DAI, losing the peg to the US dollar. So it's something that I would say they could be preparing to depeg DAI to the from the US dollar. When it depegs, it doesn't necessarily mean that it goes down. It could go the other way as well. But really, they would change the way that they maintain the peg, and going completely. They could go completely algorithmic. Okay, so that the peg is generally maintained by by traders, by arbitragers, maintaining parity by either selling if the price is above the dollar, and buying if the price is below $1. So I'm getting an immediate reward for maintaining the peg. But it is concerning because this is kind of like one of the oldest projects in crypto. So it makes a lot of people nervous, especially after Terra collapsed. This is one of the main projects that power the whole cryptocurrency industry. Now, something that I would like to to share with you. This is something we can. I'm just looking at. There's no point in looking at that right now. So this is kind of. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. So it does matter who you listen to, or you don't. I mean, I don't know what his beef is. Mark Cuban is the owner of an NBA team and an important businessman in the US, but he's also known for doing some making some really bad decisions about crypto. He famously supported this new crypto that went from $65 to zero, basically in one day. I think it was called a Titan token. And recently it's come out, very heavily, publicly, speaking about Cardano in things that obviously doesn't really understand very much. So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying is, talking at this about in particular and saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just generally using this to make you understand that you can find everything on the news, especially in crypto news. They're not as wide as normally reported news. So it's very important that whenever you read something, that you check it with other sources, because obviously, what we've been talking about Cardano is completely different from the things he's been saying. And so, at the end of the day, in fact, if you just listen to him, you would have a completely different opinion than what the numbers support. Okay, so obviously he's listening to a lot of the Ethereum, FUD about Cardano, because when you keep talking a lot about one of your competitors, it's because you feel threatened by it. It's as simple as that. So I'm not going through, exactly saying exactly what he said and why it is not correct. But I'm just using this to make you understand. Do double check and treble check your news, because not everything that is reported actually makes sense, and it's is actually true, by the way. Now, as we're talking about Cardano, actually, let me talk about a couple of things. This is interesting as, again, another way of using the blockchain. This is Giving Block, so a way of donating to charities through the blockchain. So, and this can be done in a way that is completely public. So this is one example where people could donate their ADA to this wallet address, and then it tells you exactly what the donations will go through, between International Medical Corps, CARE, World Central Kitchen, etc., etc. You can read about this. But it is interesting because what this is making, and it's especially in, if you've been anywhere in a major town, and it often, in London all the time, there are what they call like chuggers in the streets, for people that are trying to interest you to, donate to a particular charity. Now, what is always very shady is, where does the money that you sign up for actually goes? And sometimes it's shocking to see that as much as 80-90% of the money that is raised in those ways doesn't actually go to the charity. Goes to the people that are doing, selling in the streets, goes to the organization that has put all that together. And like a token amount or what you give may go to the charity, generally around 10%. Okay, where this is a much easier way to seeing, to see your donations on the blockchain and to see what the donations are going for. And being there very little money to spend in setting anything like this up, it means that, almost all of it goes through the, I'm not quite sure if it, like 100% of it completely goes to the, charitable causes. I believe it does, but generally, if you read about it, it will tell you exactly, because we're on the blockchain, so we can see exactly when the money is going. So there will be somewhere in the documents it will explain exactly how the money is divided. Going into another kind of like and this is still talking about Cardano, but this is nothing that is not directly related to Cardano. Okay, this is Nomad, is kind of like a bridge where people use to then use some of the bridge tokens. So example, bridge Ethereum, bridge Bitcoin, and bridge, other tokens that are not Cardano native. They were used by DeFi projects, in particular by Wing Riders, to use in DeFi projects, so you could get a yield on some of these tokens. Now, what happened with Nomad is that it was hacked, so the tokens that were deposited in the bridge, not on Cardano but on the Nomad side, were stolen. So basically, all the bridge tokens were worth nothing all of a sudden. Okay, and so obviously the DeFi, the total value locked, so the funds that were on these like on Wing Brothers lost their value, and as such the total value locked went down, because obviously you don't have that that amount anymore. But it didn't go down because people left, let's say, the Cardano blockchain. It's because of what happened outside of the blockchain on one of the bridges, which are still a big problem in crypto, and is one of the riskier things that have been, and there have been many cases of hacks in most major blockchains. But still, it can show you that what happens somewhere else, as these blockchains, our assets are more and more connected. What happens somewhere else can affect the tokens on a different blockchain. So let me just close this again. Talking about some new projects going on. There's quite a lot of activity on the Cronos blockchain, and you can see, like, whenever a new blockchain launches, then there's the providers they are in that particular ecosystem rush to provide solutions already available on other blockchains. And this in particular, it's a new NFT platform called Minted that launches on Cronos. So the thing is that we talked about this, about Cardano, about Solana, about Polkadot. So all the kind of like newer smart contracts blockchains that come to the market with their smart contracts will need to have certain building blocks on the blockchain, and often it's a good way of investing is when you find a layer one project that is starting to release and introduce blockchains. I think about all the successful building blocks on other chains, and then support some of these in the new blockchain that you're looking at. So in this case, we're talking about NFT platforms. I'll show you something else. This is, let me see if I had. Okay, this is a different one. For example, this is a brand new. This Basilisk token that just started trading on Kraken, for example. This is a Polkadot project, and it's interesting because we can look at the way that some of these tokens are launched, and what it means as well, because Polkadot is one of those new ecosystems, and they need to populate it with new products. Now, Kraken has worked generally very closely with Polkadot and with their parachains, so they support a lot of these projects. So at the moment, this estate has been just it was just launched yesterday, August 11, and it'd be interesting to see how the first days of trading do on thing. We can actually go, and I can show you. I can show you live. So this is a live chart just to show you what the project is like. So this is a 15-minute chart. So you can see there's not a lot of data yet, but it's just to show you how quickly it moves. Obviously, whenever there's a launch, then the price always, has an unrealistic valuation to begin with, and then it finds its level. You can see here the price was very high, kind of like was just in, talking about 9,000 went up to.
Luca, we can't see that.
Sorry,
picture.
Luca, we can't see it.
Sorry. Okay,
We
let me
can't
just
see the
stop
live
sharing.
picture.
Let me do it again. Can you see now?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So you can see here went from 9,000 to where it is now. It's at about 25. Okay, but so this is what I wanted to also to you to pay a little bit of attention to. So this is what can happen as well in ICOs. Okay, so when a new token is launched, I mean, in this case is not an ICO, it's just a listing on a exchange. Generally, there is a lot of interest because obviously the users, they have funds on Kraken, would be interested to interact with this, and then people that have the tokens that they had because maybe they invested with it at the beginning, or they got some of their tokens through the parachain auctions, were then able to sell them. Okay, so it is, this is only alpha now. This movement here, which is fairly big, is alpha now. But if you were interested in trading these tokens, it's never a good idea to buy them right the moment where they are listed. But then if you wait a little bit, you wait for the price to come down. Now we can see that the market has come down and it's been fairly stable after that. If we go on to a smaller time frame, you can see a 5-minute chart. So there isn't a lot of activity right now. It's it's a brand new token. But just wanted to show you both because of kind of like the things that are going on in new project, new blockchains. At the same time, what happens when a new project is listed. And the other one, and this is the last bit before we start taking some questions, is we've been talking about Flow, blockchain, and again, this is not something new. So they've been going for quite a while, but then now they're starting to come to everybody's attention. So this is this particular project that will provide some video snaps for particular moments from Serie A football, and sell it to fans, and that would be used Flow. So they will be using their marketplace that's built on the Flow blockchain. So again, this is infrastructure. Flow is what it could be considered to be a specialist infrastructure. So they concentrate in particular on NFTs and on the gaming sector. So as this sector is becoming gathering pace, although the prices have come down a lot, but still the NFT as a solution is gathering pace. So then more people can are looking at where is the best place to place my NFT offering, and they are coming to prominence because of that. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover so far. Yeah, okay, I'm done for now. So let me stop the sharing at the moment, and let me start taking some questions. Actually, if I could, before we do that, Jonathan, are you there? Are you listening? There's something I wanted to ask you. Hi, Jonathan. Could you suggest? Like somebody asked me, and I couldn't remember actually, a good tool for Cardano for choosing a stake pool that has got set different metrics that can be interrogated.
There was a platform that I was very positive about called Stakeboard, that was funded through Catalyst, but it hit a bit of a snag in terms of the source team didn't set their basic operating relational parameters correctly, and they kind of fell out and split ways. So that's stalled. I've introduced a new developer into it, so that's on the way still, but it's not here yet, and that will be the best, I think. The other way to do it really is just to find the criteria you want to pick based on whether you want to go for impact or pure profit, or follow a particular cause or a particular token. And then there are multiple sort of Cardano blockchain explorers that give you all those stake pool parameters. So the best way is probably to go to my website, read through what you should be looking for, and then yeah, there's pointers to tools that you can use to browse through. And the wallets themselves do offer some ranking of pools. The best one is probably ADA Pools. Yeah, it does a decent job. Or the one I like most is cexplorer.io. That's quite new. I can drop the link to that one actually.
Please, yeah, because it's kind of like going through otherwise through the wallet is quite a slog, because being almost like, I don't know what the exact number is, but we're talking about 3,000.
Yeah, over 3,000 pools. Yeah.
So it's yeah, excellent, fantastic. Okay, so who would like anybody would like to go and start with some questions? So you were saying, sorry, Jonathan, was cexplorer.io, yeah?
Yes, cexplorer.io. I just dropped the link.
Excellent. So guys, this is where you use your bookmarks. So I'm doing that as anybody else, obviously. There's a lot to learn here.
Actually, while I'm on, I'll drop another link, which is the social media discourse between Mark Cuban and Mickey Watson, who's the CEO of World Mobile.
Yep.
So they actually engaged after the bad article from Mark Cuban, and there was quite a positive outcome. So that's the Twitter thread where Mark actually asked sensible questions. Mickey got back with decent responses, and like they could, hopefully there's a stage now for them to get together on one of the altcoin media platforms and do a decent interview or something.
Yeah, I know it's kind of like, it always baffles me why somebody that obviously hasn't done his homework, put it away, would come out and talk badly openly, publicly about something that they don't understand. And this is it's really frustrating because obviously if you guys now have been able to listen to this, and you can find sources and go and find your information, but most people that are not in crypto don't, so they believe this absolute rubbish. Especially when it's somebody like a celebrity or source like Mark Cuban. So for me, I was kind of disappointed when I hear things like this. They're not based on facts at all. The other thing, Jonathan, was when somebody talks about the number of transactions on the Cardano blockchain. Mm-hmm. And they don't understand that one transaction in Cardano is equivalent to several transactions on other blockchain. So they just look at the numbers as if that's that's where their investigation stops, and they don't understand. They don't look at the data, the proper data, which is what's the value that's being transacted. Because it doesn't matter if how many transactions you have, is what you do with those transactions that matters.
Yeah, much more straightforward metric is actual value transacted. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, come on then. Any questions from anybody? Please feel free to unmute, or if you feel shy, then type in the chat box. Because otherwise, guys, I'll lose my voice.
I have a question, Luca.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the MakerDAO with the 3.5 billion and the USDC. Could there be a danger to USDC?
No. It's all about MakerDAO. They have USDC to support the the peg of DAI to the dollar, or they stable coin to the dollar, and they're thinking, the founder is talking about removing part of all of that and buying something else with it. So just changing the assets in the treasury.
No USDC problem.
So yeah, it shouldn't have, it doesn't affect the USDC. I mean,
Thank you.
USDC is sold as a fully collateralized asset. So anytime you should be able to give the USDC backs and get your dollars. So it is not something that is leveraged. At least we hope so. Now we got reports every month. They publish a report of exactly where all the this is kind of like accountant checked balance of all the funds that they hold in dollars, and they think their ratio is 1-to-1, so 1 USDC for $1. Okay. Any other questions?
On that DAI potential DPEG, what's the agenda? Like, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to create a new reserve currency that's relevant to crypto versus fiat?
No, I think the idea was always like I think with the MakerDAO, they wanted to be the original stable coin for crypto that wouldn't be connected at all with the in a way with the fiat money, and in a way using USDC you still got that fiat connection, almost like an supporting your project, because actually yes, we are a crypto project, but look, we got fiat. So in a way is removing that connection to say we are a project that can stand on its own 2 feet. That was the thought behind it, but it would be really for anything would be to get into the mind of the founder. They haven't done it yet. This is just the founder that were talking about it, and obviously MakerDAO is a DAO, so he couldn't make a decision himself. So the DAO would need to decide to do that. So at the moment, it's just an article, it's just a report, and something that is talking about. Whether it would come to be or not, we'll see. At the moment, what we can say in your question about USDC, Eric, over the past year, this USDC is actually is catching up to USDT, so they come a lot closer. USDT is always the one with the most liquidity, but now I think USDC are within about 10 billion in value of USDT. So it's because there have been so many talks about the USDT not being as transparent. So a lot of institutions preferred holding USDC than USDT long term. Okay. All right, let's take another question. Come on, guys. I know you got questions in you. Tanzin, nice to see you. Nice to see you on the call. Do you have a question? You normally are full of questions and opinion.
Actually, am I speaking? Do you hear me?
Yes, you can.
I'm coming away from this feeling not very optimistic about crypto.
In general, what's that referring to?
Well, I mean, a lot of the news is not good news, and I've just seen so many. I don't know if they're exactly rug pulls, but Titano and BNB Finance and lots of bankruptcies and those kinds of things. It does make me wonder where the real value is. I'm kind of being very conservative with sticking with things like Bitcoin, to tell you the truth. But I have to say, today's call made me go, oof, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because when you're thinking about where the real, exactly that, this is what we've been trying to talk about here more than anything else. Because if you go into a project that promises to give you, 8% a day or 10% a day, obviously money doesn't grow on trees, as they say. So I think, how do they generate that kind of returns? And so obviously, very often, what is too good to be true, it often is. And the only way that some of these projects can justify certain returns is basically by new users coming to use the project. So basically, it is a Ponzi scheme. Just the only difference is that instead of being shady characters, stealing, going away with your money, is everything is coded, and it's code that's stealing your money in a way, and not so much the code that's stealing your money, but it's kind of the people that know how it works and that can remove that money away from you quicker than you can actually make money from it. But when you're thinking where is the value, then this is what we concentrate. This is the thing that we're talking on today. So what we talk about, what's going on with Cardano, with Polkadot, with Ethereum, with Kronos. These are all projects that are working and doing good work for the blockchain technology. And it doesn't. They might not be obvious to you what they represent or what they stand for, because it's still early days. So not many use cases are out there that you may be aware of. But we're talking today about elections in Kenya, for example. This is pretty big news. Whether we're not talking any one particular project, but we're just talking about what this technology can do. And these are, in a way, all the different coins as a early day representation. Like,
yeah, I have to say that I've been telling people that I'm mostly investing in picks and shovels and Levi jeans when it comes to crypto, and I still feel more confident in that space than in crypto.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always been, talking around
the infrastructure.
Exactly.
Not the utility of it, I guess.
Exactly that. So the project are not fancy. The work that was going on in Cardano for years, wasn't something that you would go and shout about to your friends, generally speaking. But then the things that will go on in the next year or 2 or 3 are based on that work, on that groundwork. And the same is for any other project, whether it's Ethereum, Bitcoin, or something like this. Sometimes it's when things are boring that the opportunities are there. Once everybody is aware of what something can do, and there is kind of like mass adoption for one project or for one thing, then obviously we see the news about things going up incredible percent until this, but it's because of all the groundwork that was done before to make that happen. So it's interesting to say it's yes, there are, you can read about these things, you can read about projects that try to get your attention by promising very high returns. You just need to, at the end of the day, if you come across anything like this, you really need to go and read the the details, the documents, to find out exactly how they're planning to function long term. And understand if it's a genuine business project that has some legs, or if if just something like a quick grab and run, which will not do anything for blockchain industry apart from focusing the attention into what you shouldn't be interacting with. So yeah, that's my view on it. So I prefer spending my time reading about proper projects. They are building something. They are simply something that is that would stand the test of time. Put it that way. So real projects that they are delivering real value. Okay. Are there questions? We got a couple of minutes left before we go, and obviously feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question, but if you don't, I'll just remind you everybody that Jonathan runs a Cardano event at 9:30, which he will post as usual in the chat box, but also that Jonathan runs a stake pool that, as we were talking about earlier, so you can delegate your Cardano votes, and with the extra advantage that is connected with the buy one give one. So You're not only supporting his project, but also you're supporting good causes by delegating your ADA to his staking pool. So this is not a plug by any chance, but I appreciate the good work that Jonathan does. So anything I can, that's what blockchain industry is about, collaboration. I think the more you can find good people to work with and collaborate, the better it is. The better we'll all be. Okay, so that's the just posted in the chat box. So if you can, please go and attend at 9:30, and I'll guarantee you that you will learn something. So was that okay, Jonathan?
Thank you very much, Luca. Yeah. At the moment, the pool looks very good. We've got 940,000 ADA staked.
Fantastic.
And 53 delegators. But that's because we're in a special rotation of ADA. But yeah, we're slowly, steadily growing with a spike this last month.
Amazing. Okay, I'm very, very pleased. Very pleased to hear that. So soon you will break the million.
Yeah, that's the hope. And we've given $1,000 to B1G1 so far. So we broke that last month as well.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, on this note, let's say I will go and hear more about it from Jonathan at 9:30. So just remind you that the link is in the chat box. I'll give you an extra few seconds to make sure that you click on that before I close this call. And I look forward to seeing you all again on Friday next week. Okay, so stay well, have a great weekend. Enjoy, if you're in London, enjoy the heat wave that we're having. For I think it will end probably in a couple of days. We go back to more normal English weather. But enjoy, and I'll catch up with you guys next week. Okay,